In 2013, Elon Musk laughed at BYD on live television. Today, BYD sells more electric cars than Tesla, and Tesla is buying batteries from them. Mercedes profits collapsed 57%. Porsche lost 92% of its bottom line. Stellantis posted the worst loss in automotive history, $26 billion. One Chinese company did this in 3 years. How? This isn't a story about competition. This is a story about annihilation. Let me show you the damage. Mercedes-Benz. 2025 profits collapsed 57%, the worst year in decades. Not because Germans forgot how to build cars, because Chinese buyers stopped buying them. Porsche. 92% of operating profit wiped out in a single year. Their own CEO admitted, "We got it wrong in China." That's not a miscalculation. That's a confession. Stellantis, the group behind Jeep, Peugeot, Fiat, posted a $26 billion loss. Volkswagen announced 50,000 job cuts and 3 factories closed. And behind every single one of these blows, the same name keeps coming back. BYD. But here's what makes this different from every other China Rises story you've heard. BYD didn't just beat these companies in China. They're planting their flag on every continent at the same time, and nobody seems able to stop them. Start with Southeast Asia. In Thailand, BYD grabbed 40% of the EV market in 18 months. Mitsubishi shut down its local factory. Mazda cut production by 60%. A region that was a Japanese stronghold for 40 years, flipped in a few years. In Singapore, 1 out of every 5 new cars sold last year is a BYD. In Malaysia, BYD became the best-selling electric brand in 2024. Now look at Europe, the place Western carmakers thought they'd be safe. Chinese brands now account for more than 11% of European EV sales. Renault posted its first net loss in 5 years. Audi is losing customers in China and losing market share at home. Simultaneously, the German chancellor flew to Beijing with 30 CEOs behind him, not to sign contracts, to ask Xi Jinping to stop suffocating German industry. 20 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. Then there's Brazil. BYD took 72% of the Brazilian EV market in a single year. Then they opened a factory on the site of an old Ford plant the Americans had abandoned. They're doing the same in Mexico, Israel, and Norway, one of the most demanding EV markets in the world, where the BYD Tang landed straight in the top 5 bestsellers on launch. The United States is the only major market where BYD is still blocked, officially for national security reasons. And even there, everyone knows why it's a holding pattern, not a victory. So the question becomes, how? How does a company most people couldn't name 5 years ago pull off something no Western car maker saw coming? Cheap labor doesn't explain it. Plenty of Chinese companies had the same advantage and went nowhere. His name is Wang Chuanfu. In 1995, he was a 29-year-old engineer who borrowed $40,000 from his cousin and rented a small workshop in Shenzhen to make rechargeable batteries. Within 7 years, he was supplying Motorola and Nokia. By 2003, BYD was the biggest battery maker in the world. That same year, Wang did something nobody understood. He took the money and bought a bankrupt, state-owned car factory in the middle of nowhere. His own investors tried to stop him. BYD's stock dropped 2.7 billion Hong Kong dollars in 2 days. The Chinese business press called it a joke. A battery guy walking into one of the most capital-intensive industries on the planet. Wang didn't even have a driving license. But his logic was simple. The future of the car wasn't the engine. It was the battery. And nobody on Earth knew more about batteries than him. It took him 15 years of humiliation. But during those 15 years, while journalists laughed and Musk mocked him on television, Wang made 3 decisions that quietly changed everything. Decision 1. Refuse to depend on anyone. Tesla buys batteries from Panasonic. Volkswagen relies on hundreds of outside suppliers. BYD decided to build everything in-house. The batteries, the semiconductors, the motors, the windshields, the headlights, down to the software running inside the dashboard. When the global chip shortage paralyzed the auto industry in 2021, BYD just turned up the dial on its own chip factories and kept delivering. When lithium prices exploded, they were already digging their own in Tibet and South America. Decision 2. Bet on the boring option. While Tesla and every Silicon Valley commentator was evangelizing pure electric vehicles, Wang quietly poured resources into plug-in hybrids. In California, it sounded like a compromise. In most of China, where charging stations were rare outside the big cities, it was the only thing that made sense for hundreds of millions of people. That compromise gave BYD access to 500 million Chinese consumers Tesla could never touch. And once they had that volume, the economics of scale did the rest. Decision 3. The Blade Battery. In 2020, BYD released a different chemistry, lithium iron phosphate instead of the nickel and cobalt mix everyone else was using. Cheaper to produce. It didn't catch fire when you drove a nail through it, and it lasted longer. 4 years later, Tesla started buying batteries from BYD for its own cars. Let that sink in. The company Musk laughed at on television is now supplying the batteries inside Teslas. So BYD didn't just build better cars. They built a system their competitors structurally can't copy. At least, that's the story you'll read in every Harvard case study. Vertical integration, bold hybrid strategy, breakthrough battery. Amazing. Except it's not the full story. Not even close. From day one, BYD has been playing a game nobody else on the field was allowed to play. Between 2015 and 2020 alone, BYD received roughly $4.3 billion in direct subsidies from the Chinese state. In 2016, the year they poached their star designer from Audi, the subsidies they collected from Beijing were higher than the company's entire net profit. Listen to that sentence again. Without the Chinese government writing checks, BYD wasn't making money that year. It was losing it. The help came in every form you can imagine. Free land for factories, zero-interest loans from state-owned banks, tax breaks on R&D, guaranteed public contracts for buses and taxis in hundreds of Chinese cities, subsidies handed directly to buyers. At its peak, analysts estimate BYD was pocketing between $2,000 and $4,000 of public money for every single vehicle rolling off the line. Now think about what that means for Volkswagen or Toyota. When they decide to price a car, they're competing against a rival whose margin isn't calculated the same way. BYD can sell below cost for years and still post a profit because the Chinese state is quietly topping up the difference. That's not a fair market. This is why Mercedes can't just build better cars. It's why Stellantis can't just cut costs harder. The problem isn't that BYD is smarter, although they are. The problem is that BYD is part of a national industrial strategy. Made in China 2025, the plan Xi Jinping laid out a decade ago, openly named the automotive sector as one of the 10 industries China intended to dominate globally. BYD is the instrument. The country is the player. By the time Western governments finally woke up and started talking about tariffs, Beijing had already started winding down the most aggressive subsidies. Not because anyone forced them to, because the job was done. The machine was built, the global supply chain was locked in, and the competition was on its knees. But here's the twist nobody expected. The cracks are starting to show, and they're coming from inside the machine. In early 2025, a Hong Kong research firm called GMT Research published a report that landed like a bomb. According to their analysis, BYD's real debt isn't the 42 billion yuan the company officially reports. It's closer to 323 billion, almost 8 times higher. The missing pieces are hidden inside what accountants call supply chain financing, a polite way of saying that BYD pays its suppliers on average 275 days after delivery, 9 months, in an industry where the norm is 50 to 60 days. Technically, those unpaid invoices are debt, except they don't show up on the balance sheet. BYD is using its own suppliers as an unpaid bank, and the scale of it now rivals what Evergrande was doing in real estate right before the whole thing collapsed. Then there's another practice nobody in China talks about openly. It's called zero-mileage used cars. At the end of each month, BYD dealerships register thousands of brand new cars in the name of shell companies they control, then immediately resell them on the second-hand market as used 0 kilometers. On paper, those cars count as new car sales. In reality, no real customer ever bought them. Images from 2024 show rows of BYDs abandoned in fields across China, slowly rusting. A salesman in Guangzhou admitted anonymously that at the end of every month he was told to register 200 to 300 cars under partner companies just to hit the numbers, which raises an uncomfortable question. When BYD tells the world it sold 4.25 million vehicles last year, how many were actually sold to human beings? And now the financial reality is catching up. BYD's Q1 2026 net income fell 55%, the steepest drop in nearly 6 years. Sales have declined for 8 consecutive months. The stock has lost almost 50% of its value in Hong Kong. Geely is eating BYD's lunch at home. The Chinese government itself issued a public warning, telling carmakers the price war isn't sustainable. When Beijing tells its own champions to calm down, you know something is off. In Brazil, BYD is being prosecuted by the Labor Ministry for conditions described in court documents as analogous to slavery at its factory construction site. 163 Chinese workers, passports confiscated, 14-hour days. The case went all the way up to President Lula. Some analysts are now openly using the word Evergrande. Whether they're right or wrong, that word alone tells you how fragile the miracle might actually be. So where does this leave us? The company is still massive, still profitable on paper, still selling more electric cars than anyone on the planet. But the cracks are real, and the people pointing at them aren't going away. And here's the bigger story, the one that should keep every Western executive awake at night. Beijing is already running the same playbook in half a dozen other industries: semiconductors, artificial intelligence, commercial drones, battery storage, maritime shipping, green hydrogen. You don't even have to guess which industries are next. Beijing published the list. It's called the 15th Five-Year Plan. It names every sector the country intends to dominate globally by 2030. Read it once and you'll never look at a business headline the same way again. Whether BYD collapses next year under its own hidden debt or becomes the Toyota of the 21st century, almost doesn't matter. The bigger story is the one playing out behind it. And it's not going to stop with cars. The rules have changed. The people playing the game best right now are not in Detroit, Stuttgart, or Tokyo. They're in Shenzhen, Hangzhou, and a dozen other cities most Westerners couldn't find on a map. If you've seen this shift happening in your own industry, drop a comment below. I read them all. And if this is the kind of story you want more of, hit subscribe. That's exactly what this channel is here for. The real story from inside Asia, not from a desk in London or New York. I'll see you in the next one.